Good morning, Facebook friends. This is Gary Tinterow, director of the Museum of Fine Arts, Houston. In our exhibition, Degas, A New Vision, which is on view only in Houston until January 16. Today I'm going to give you a short preview of some of the 1890 landscapes that we have in the exhibition. This is a special component of the exhibition and a bit surprising for those of you who know Degas' work because he was famously against landscape painters. This is an unusual position for one of the founders of the Impressionist exhibitions held in Paris from 1874 to 1886 in concert with Renoir and Monet and Pissarro, who were prominent landscape painters. Degas always said that, he quipped that the Impressionists were too herbivorous, too vegetarian, that the police should go out into the landscape and round up as dangerous individuals any painters who were trying to paint out of doors. That's because he insisted on the primacy of the figure, and he felt that only through the human figure could an artist convey significant information about the human experience, about our civilization and culture. But he discovered in himself in the 1890s an extraordinary talent for landscapes, and probably in part in competition with some of his friends like Monet. In the early 1890s, he began to travel by train and by carriage with friends to France and to Spain. And on one of those trips, staying overnight with a painter friend, he asked for some colored paints, and he began to make some colored monotypes by spreading colored inks and paint on a plate, on a copper plate, and then printing it on damp paper to make these beautifully abstract and evocative landscapes, which we can recognize immediately, like the medieval village on the hilltop here at the left, or the little creek in the meadow, in the prairie, or the range of hills at sunset. He exhibited these in an exhibition in 1894 for only a few weeks, and he had not exhibited since 1886 in Paris, and so it was stunning that his reappearance in the Parisian art world would be through a series of landscape paintings. But of course, Monet and Pissarro and others had been routinely showing series of landscapes, and it could be that Degas wanted to make his mark in this special competition. He developed these landscape monotypes in an interesting way. It was one of his most important media or vehicles of expression, because he found that he could make a couple of prints with a single printed plate, and then he could modify them sometimes with pastel, making a much richer, more complex image like we see here. There may be a crouching figure, for example, in the monotype underneath this work. The monotype may not even be a landscape, but he transformed that piece of paper and that initial idea into a landscape. Or he would simply enlighten or annotate some of his ink forms with pastel in order to make a different mood or to bring in new colors which he didn't have in the colored ink. But to me, the most important aspect of these works, apart from their freshness, their novelty, their experimentation, is how he brought that aesthetic to his more customary work, such as these jockey pictures. This was Degas' bread and butter. There was always a ready market for these race scenes, and one of the most beautiful that he ever created is in our exhibition. It's lent to us by Baronessa Carmen Thyssen-Bornemisza of Madrid. She never lends this work. It was a special favor to us here in Houston. And we have here a beautiful line of racehorses, the jockeys in their colorful silks, and then this magnificent landscape with the hills touched by the setting sun at sunset. It's a magnificent scene, completely improbable. Racehorses don't race in the mountains, but it doesn't matter to us. It's simply a sumptuous and beautiful scene, an expression of Degas' power to persuade us with his artistic talent. Thanks very much for visiting with me today on Facebook, and I hope you'll come see this exhibition. The Dallas Morning News called it the exhibition of a lifetime, and it's a very special opportunity here at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, on view until January 16. See you soon.